white paint, cracked skin, a breath that hinted of metal. In the court of Elizabeth I, beauty was not a luxury. It was policy, and policy can be dangerous. Tonight, the recipes, the ritual, the damage, and the reason a queen kept doing it anyway. In Tudor England, pale skin meant distance from labor, distance from dirt, distance from disease. It whispered, rank. After a near-fatal bout of smallpox early in her reign, Elizabeth carried scars the court could never be allowed to read as weakness. White became the answer. White as purity, white as power, white as a painted promise that said, the crown does not age. Portraits repeated the message. The face is smooth, the gaze fixed, the years politely refused. This was not vanity alone. It was statecraft, calming allies, unsettling enemies, keeping the realm stable with an image that did not change. Smallpox spares and scars. On a king, a scar might become a story of survival. On a crowned woman without a husband, a scar could become an argument. Is she failing? Who should guide her? So the face became a project, not for prettiness, for continuity. If the surface stayed perfect, policy could move without the room second-guessing the body beneath. The base was often ceruse, lead steeped in vinegar, washed and ground to a soft white paste. It filled scars, brightened the whole face and throat, and crept into pores. For color came vermilion from mercury ores or crushed cochineal, reds deep enough to show under candlelight. To set the surface, egg-white glazes, astringent waters, and powders. Apothecaries added improvements, alum to tighten, borax to smooth, oils and waxes to soften the bite of lead. Perfumed gloves and pomanders masked the smells of a crowded court. Rose water soothed, vinegar stung. Recipe books promised radiance. They rarely mentioned the bill the skin would pay. The next 2 minutes are the worst. How the ritual worked and what it did to living skin. Morning began with repair. Old paint off, gently if the skin would allow. Bread and wine, rose water, sometimes a whisper of mercury to lift stubborn residue. Then the building began. A thin coat of ceruse, forehead, cheeks, chin, throat. A second coat where shadows showed. Egg white brushed like glass to seal the surface. Rouge at the cheekbones. Carmine for the lips. A dusting of powder to fix it all. Hairlines were plucked or shaved back for the fashionable high forehead. When hair thinned, wigs and pieces filled the gaps. Starched ruffs framed the face like a picture, every inch arranged to control what the eye would believe. Night could be worse than day. Anything strong enough to lift lead was strong enough to lift skin. Cracks needed filling, irritation needed disguising, and so the cycle tightened. Damage, then more paint to hide the damage. Lead dries skin, inflames it, and slowly poisons everything. Symptoms creep: gray pallor, headaches, tremor, numbness in the hands, hair thinning at the temples. Skin becomes paper thin, fissures lengthen, infection waits in the lines. Mercury bites. Used to cleanse or purify, it opens raw places and slows healing. Ulcers sting under the glaze. Color hides the soreness. The mask looks smooth while the face beneath suffers. Teeth carried their own burden. Sweet powders and acidic rinses scoured enamel. Gums grew tender. A queen who smiled less often may have been following policy, but the mouth had its reasons. None of this was unique to Elizabeth. It was fashion with consequences, practiced by noblewomen across Europe. But when the world watches your face for weakness, the price compounds. Because image was government, a tired face invited whispers about marriage, succession, foreign rescue. Diplomats read faces as closely as they read treaties. Audiences, progresses, portraits, each demanded a surface that reassured the realm. There was habit too. If the court expects the mask becomes uniform. Remove it, and the room murmurs. Keep it, and the room sees continuity, the Virgin Queen, distant from time and ordinary bodies. If beauty props up power, who mixed the beauty, and who paid when it went wrong? Apothecaries sourced the jars, perfumers soaked the gloves, physicians issued warnings the fashion cycle outshouted. Ladies in waiting learned the sequence: base, glaze, color, powder. Maids washed linens streaked with white. Combs and brushes dusted the room with lead. A court is a machine. It has hands for every part, especially the parts a queen must never be seen doing. If skin broke, there were poultices. If hair fell, there were pieces. If whispers rose, there were portraits to contradict them. Power needs merchants. The best white was branded. Venetian Ceruse. Dearer, finer, coveted over rough local mixes. Perfumers traded in musk, civet, and rose to outscent a crowded palace. Glove makers soaked kid leather until a handshake carried sweetness. Recipes were tweaked for status. Grades were argued over. Bills were paid. When paint hurt, the same network sold salves. When hair failed, it sold hair. An economy formed around the mask, and economies defend themselves. Studios kept a standard pattern, the mask of youth, a face template repeated while symbols changed. You could age the empire without aging the queen. Even portraits done from life slid back toward the template. Smooth brow, controlled light. Clothes helped. Ruffs lift the chin. Pearls glow against white. Dark velvet throws the face forward. Veils and jewels soften hair loss. Everything says the same thing. The body obeys the crown. Did Elizabeth understand the danger? People noticed effects even if they did not know chemistry. Stinging after cleansing, thinning hair, tender gums, a metallic taste from certain cures. Physicians cautioned broadly. Fashion argued in specifics. When every negotiation begins with a look at your face, risk becomes calculation. Suffer later to govern now. She was not alone. In France, Catherine de' Medici wore invention like armor. Scent, shade, splendor. In Scotland, Mary Stuart leaned on luminous skin and dark fabrics to argue legitimacy. Across Europe, the message matched the century. If the body is precarious, presentation must be permanent. Not every day needed the full mask. Some days used lighter washes, egg white varnish for sheen, orange peel pomanders for scent, beauty patches to convert a blemish into fashion. Gentler rinses, rose, rosemary, violet, cooled the skin. Cold creams with oils and beeswax soothed when paint bit too hard. Linen, always linen, changed often, because belief tied cleanliness more to fabric than to water. But the larger frame stood. Whiteness equals worth. A queen could soften the routine, she could not abandon it. Court fashion influenced towns and households. Powders copied, pomanders imitated, foreheads tweezed higher, teeth scrubbed whiter with harsh abrasives. But only a queen lived under a microscope. Her body was not private, it was a national text. The mask was the binding that kept the pages from falling out. Myth 1. Elizabeth never washed. She did, by the standards of her time, preferring contained, managed bathing. Water was suspected of opening the body to illness. Cleansing existed, it just looked different. Myth 2. The mask of youth was a literal cosmetic mask. The phrase belongs to portraiture, a standardized, ideal face. Heavy cosmetics existed, but the mask was also policy on canvas. Myth 3. The paint proves she hid a terrible disease. It proves only that the court demanded an unblemished face, and the nation demanded an ageless queen. The paint met the expectation, even when it made the expectation harder to meet. Myth 4. One product ruined her. There was no single jar to blame. It was the stack, lead to cover, Mercury to cleanse, acids to strip, powders to fix. A ladder that always needed another rung. Myth 5. Beauty meant frivolity. Here, beauty meant stability. The mask was not gossip, it was government. Stand back and the pattern is clear. Purpose. Project stability with a face that did not falter. Method. Ceruse for whiteness. Glazes and powders for finish. Color for life. Cost. Irritated skin, damaged hair, slow poisoning measured in years, not days. Result. A monarchy that looked immortal while the body beneath negotiated with time. Was the beauty worth the damage? For Elizabeth, the answer was practical. The kingdom needed the icon it recognized. The body served the icon served the state. So, did beauty poison a queen? Not with a single fatal stroke, but with a long, careful bargain. Cosmetics preserved the image that preserved the crown and asked the skin to pay the bill. If beauty could poison, what did medicine do? Next episode. Top 7 Tudor. Cures you don't want to try. Leeches, blisters, theriac, and remedies that hurt more than they healed. If you're inside the playlist, the next file opens now. If not, start the Tudor Poison and Power Files playlist and follow the evidence. History remembers what it is told to remember. Tonight, we remembered the price of looking perfect.